BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.
Right, just recorded the pod there with Kasper, absolute belter of a podcast. We've got to warn you, there will be some naughty language.
Adult themes as well, remember them.
Yeah, no doubt. Stuff about fancy dress.
And I reckon Robert Huth's probably going to take his top off in here as well.
Oh, by the way, I forgot something. Can we just get something straight? Ketchup has to be in the fridge.
Crouchy P on the MIC. We're doing this just for free.
Do you give it the sniff test?
Peter, come do the quiz.
Feel a little bit like Dirty Dan.
You and your two silly little mates.
Silly little mates, just wrap it up.
Is it weird doing one of these whilst wearing clothes?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be cruising at 2,400 feet.
Let's free the ketchup.
So much to get off my chest.
And you've always had magnificent teeth.
How bad have things got?
It's going downhill now, isn't it?
The nation will be back stronger.
Hello and welcome to another episode of that Peter Crouch podcast with him, Peter Crouch, Tom Fordyce and Chris Stark here as usual. And so am I, Kasper Schmeichel. You all right, lads?
Hello, mate.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank you very much.
How's isolation?
Well, homeschooling is taking up pretty much probably 80% of the day. I'm learning the guitar with the kids, which has been good fun.
If Kasper's getting into the guitar, Tom's revealed to us that he plays a guitar as well. Perhaps we could use you to sort out the music at the start of this podcast, because it's a shambles. It's still this same kind of crap tune that you want replaced, Crouch. Maybe we get Kasper to just bang out a tune at the start.
Whoa, steady. Give me a few months for that, yeah?
Got an update on the music, by the way. You know, we've asked people to send us in some possible new opening songs, about 30-second bursts. They've come in on Crouchy's email, which I know you check every day, Crouchy, so you'll know this. Some sort of red tape issue about music rights or something. I'm told it's being sorted, so it will happen. It might just take a week or two.
So what you're saying, Tom, is we just need to get through this red tape. Whatever Carl's in charge of sorting the music just needs to sign off on it, and then we'll be good to go with changing the music at the start. I
believe so. Yeah, it's going to be fan-orientated music, and it'll be a lot better, I hope.
Kasper, we thought we'd just give you a couple of questions right at the start to see kind of what, if you know what you're letting yourself in for.
I've got a rough idea. Yeah, go on then.
Because I've been told you listen to the podcast.
I actually found out probably about 6 months ago about the podcast, so I had a load to catch up on.
What were your expectations? Sort of 5 out of 10?
Probably fair.
All right, what questions you got for him?
Kasper, if I was to say to you, what's a samrat?
That's Crouchy's local curry house, isn't it? Down in...
Hey!
What is it? Ealing or something?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, in Ealing, yeah.
If you meet someone called Carl, what do you need to tell him to do?
Piss off.
Okay.
Can I ask what piss off Carl is in Danish?
It'd be Fagge mirakel.
Yeah, get a load of that, Carl.
All right, finally, Kasper, who is Parched?
Charlie Adam.
Were you having a guess?
I was convinced it was Darren Fletcher.
Oh.
I was convinced it was Darren Fletcher, but yeah.
You must have played with a Parched player, someone along those lines. Have you got anyone in mind?
I've got a few. To be fair. Can I name them or?
Oh, yeah, maybe some clues would be nice.
Yeah, I played with him in the Premier League. Let's start there then.
So it's someone you've played with at Leicester or Man City.
Johnny Evans strikes me as someone who could be Parched.
Yeah, well, do you know what? He was one of the names that popped up in my mind when you said it, but he's just an ultimate pro, and I can't dig someone out for being that. What else can I give you? Right, he's a midfielder.
Danny Drinkwater.
It's a great shout, but no.
Oof. Andy King.
He is most definitely not Parched, Andy King.
Stephen Ireland.
From my City days, 100% he would be Parched. I hadn't thought of him. I hadn't thought of him. That's a great shout as well. I remember we used to do the beat test and people would drop out. Obviously, all the keepers, we'd set a time that we'd all drop out at the same time. We'd sit and watch the rest of them. And then in the end, Stevie would just be running, and no one else would be. And the managers went in there, right, well done, Steve, right, come on, let's go. Because he could just keep going. He could just keep going.
There's a fair few Parched players out there. That's what's becoming apparent.
There's 100%. There's people that position themselves around management.
It's a universal concept, isn't it?
All right, well, you've sort of teased us enough then, Kasper. Who have you got in your brain that's Parched for you?
Esteban Cambiasso.
Oh, really?
He was amazing. I loved him. He was brilliant. What a player and what a guy. Basically a manager already. So even on the pitch, he'd be changing tactics and things like that. He was class.
What's he done to deserve this sort of Parched title?
The way he was, the way he behaved, the way he looked after himself, you could tell there was a reason he'd been 10 years at such a big club, you know. And like I say, I really enjoyed him, but it was the first name that kind of came to my mind when asked about Parched.
You must have a good relationship with managers and stuff like that now. You must not be Parched, but you must have a good relationship with the managers.
Great shout.
I would say I could be in with a shout at that, along with a few others.
So you're not fully parched. You're more like thirsty at this stage.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm fully parched. Definitely not. Definitely not.
What I'm seeing is that it tends to be older players that are parched. Or is there anyone you can think of that bucks that trend?
Well, I wouldn't say David Seaman was an anti-parched, but he was a legend at Man City. Everyone was more kind of in awe. At Man City, we were only in our second season in the Premier League at the time. He was just calm as could be, the calmest person I've ever seen. I'm 16, 17 at the time. I'm diving around like a loony trying to impress. And David there, he was 40. I mean, his hands were incredible. His balance was just ridiculous how good it was. But if it was straight at him, he'd save it. But if it went anywhere wide, he'd just go, oh, no, got that in a game.
What?
Yeah.
He wouldn't bother diving on the basis that he could if he had to.
Yeah, it's basically, I've got that in a game. He would just save his body. He was 40. He'd been doing it all his life, so he'd just save himself for games.
That's like keeping your
brilliant.
powder dry, isn't it? It's like actors that save it for the show.
Yeah.
There's a story about David Seaman, isn't there? That when probably the time you knew him, Kasper, and his ponytail was the longest that it ever became. I think there's a story that he's still got it at home, like in a drawer or something, when he cut it off.
He's kept it.
Surely not.
No way.
To be fair, though, everywhere we went, there was so much attention just to his ponytail. Like, when he was signing autographs, it was as if people wanted to touch his ponytail.
Can I ask you, like, Jamie Vardy fascinates all of us who don't know him because he's he's such a strange bloke. So we all know about his weird pre-match stuff. So the fact he gets, what is it? He gets an empty bottle of Lucasade the night before a game and then half fills it with port. The morning of a game, he has a double espresso, then he has a can of Red Bull, then a cheese and ham omelette, and then another can of Red Bull. And just in case he's short of caffeine, he has another Red Bull.
I think the porter's kind of stopped now. He's, he's at an age now where I don't think he can do that. But that was his tradition, and it worked for him. I think it was him and Marcin Vasilevsky.
You're getting older now. Is that what you're saying?
What is he? He must be 32, 33 soon.
He's still rapid though, isn't he? He's still rapid. Yeah. He's still banging goals.
I think he's just one of these freaks of nature. Like he's never set foot in a gym, and in training sometimes he can't hit a barn door, but honestly in games he just flicks a switch and off he goes and does his thing.
He's so funny. Like every little bit that like we see of him as a football fan, he just looks mental.
Oh, he's mental, that's for sure, but funny.
I don't think he's that funny.
Now, do you know what? This is one of the things about it. I think he gets portrayed as funny. We played Southampton away. We're in the tunnel, and Vards is saying hello to all the England players, and I've gone, oh, English friends. And then I say hello to Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, and he goes, oh, Danish friends. But they only show him doing it. And he's hilarious, that Vars. He's so original, isn't he? He does have his moments, I'll give him that.
What's he like on your team WhatsApp groups?
If we need someone to kick off about something, if there's a scheduling issue or something like that, we'll get it chucked in the group in some way, and then we'll let Vards kick off about that. He'll be the angry man about that. But no, he actually tends to keep himself to himself. He's not the Larry one on WhatsApp, that's for sure.
The Larry one is
James Maddison's up there without doubt. I mean, but that's just him. He is Larry in every. That's just a perfect way to describe him. I think Larry.
What was going on with his see-through backpack?
Basically, I don't know. It's one of going to Louis Vuitton. Right, what have you got? That's proper Larry. Give it me.
How good is he as a player?
He's a joke. Honestly, he can be whatever he wants to be. Sometimes I worry for him being English, playing in England. That is big pressure. That's you'll have experienced that yourself playing for England. I bet that just brings a different level of expectation and scrutiny to anyone's game. But his ability is it's ridiculous. And it's not, It's everything, really. I mean, the one thing he's not blisteringly quick, but he's definitely not slow either. He's got everything in his locker, and if he keeps his head down, working as hard as he does, then sky's the limit for him.
I remember speaking to Brendan quite early on in his time at Leicester, and him saying, I said, "Is anyone that surprised you in training?" And he said, "James Maddison. I didn't realise how good he was."
Yeah, I think with top players, I always feel is they do the simple things well, and they do them consistently well. You don't see them having bad touches. You don't see them misplacing passes. They take just as much care on a 5-yard pass as they do on a 50-yard diag or a free kick or something. And he's one of them. But he's also got this extraordinary vision and an ability to see things, see pictures in his head. And then on top of that, he can execute. His right foot, with it, whether it's with the instep, or the inside or the outside of his foot, he's got a range of passing and a range of shooting that's incredible. And again, if he's given time and given kind of the space to develop, then England have got a great player on their hands.
Should we talk about Brendan Rodgers? Because Brendan Rodgers is another fascinating character. I want to see, Kasper, how well you know your own manager. So I've got a little quiz for you. Ooh. The name of the quiz is Brendan or Brent.
Great idea, Tom.
So I'm going to read out a quote. You have to tell me who said it. Was it Brendan Rodgers or was it David Brent? Number one, here's your quote. The problem with being a manager is that it's like trying to build an aircraft while it's flying. Is that Brendan or Brent?
That could be both. I'll say Brendan then.
It's Brendan.
Get in.
Number two, trust people and they'll be true to you. Treat them greatly and they will show themselves to be great.
What a game.
Brent.
It's the correct answer.
Oh, thank God for that.
Quote number three, if you've got one leg, at least you haven't got two legs missing. If you've lost both legs and both arms, just go with, at least I'm not dead.
No way Brendan said that.
I've got to be Brent.
It's Brent.
Thank God for that.
Really want him to get one of these wrong.
Yeah, I know you do.
My biggest mentor is myself because I've had to study, and that's been my biggest influence.
I'm just going to go on law of averages here and say Brendan because you've had two of the other and one of the other, so I'm going to say Brendan.
Good. He's right again.
Yes.
Full house.
Thank God for that. Thank God for that.
God.
Tense. Seriously tense.
God, I've never felt so under pressure.
Your final quote for your full house in Brent or Brendan. It's not just about training people. It's about educating people. You train dogs.
Do you know what? That sounds like a Nigel Pearson quote.
Yeah. Well, he's a big fan. We talked about him before, didn't we? We talked about him, when his dog.
I heard that episode, and I can only say that definitely happened. 100%.
Is it Brent or Brendan, though?
Oh, sorry. I'm trying to deflect here, mate. Come on.
Yeah.
It's not just training people. It's about educating people. You train dogs.
Brendan.
It is Brendan. He's so good.
He's good.
Oh,
He's
amazing.
Good. He's good.
Going back to Pearson, though, the Wolf story was an amazing one. Is that the most Pearson story you've heard about Nigel Pearson, or do you know one better?
What a man. He was massive for my career, he was. He was such a good manager. I really, really enjoyed him. And every time I see him, he to be fair, he's one of them. He treats every single player like his own kids. That's why I think most players, they really, really respect him and really want to work for him.
For me, it feels like he put together a lot of that team that went on to win that league.
I've always said that we owe Nigel a great deal because even today, so much of the infrastructure of the club is what Nigel put in place, and the staff there. I mean, basically everyone nearly from Nigel's staff is still there, and he was so good at looking at the big picture. He was so good at planning and implementing ways of getting the structure of the club in the right place, and he's without doubt, he deserves so much credit.
I was at the first game. I think it was away at Anfield when he was when he became Watford manager, and the difference in Watford,
the
moment he arrived, he's just changed the whole mentality and the attitude of the place, and you just feel like they've got a real chance, whenever this thing starts up again, of staying up. So he's obviously got great pedigree.
But do you not think that? The thing for me, I've always thought that the most underrated quality, and for some reason it doesn't really exist that much in football anymore, but man management. Treating people as people and not as just a player or a number. And Nigel just doesn't do that. You know, he gets invested in people. And Brendan's very, very similar in that sense, you know. You see a massive difference in us as well. You know, when players feel appreciated, feel valued. You've got 11 players that are playing, but the rest aren't playing. That's such a hard situation to manage. And Nigel's brilliant at managing that, as is Brendan as well.
At Stoke, I remember where the players were like, you know, we went from being the Stoke maybe that was horrible and hard to beat. We added a few more players, and we became better. And we thought, oh, well, maybe we can play a different way. So we actually went to Tony Pulis and said, you know, I feel like we could maybe possibly play a little bit more football in a different way. And I'll never forget this quote that Ryan Shawcross told me afterwards. He said, "So the fuck are you talking about, Ryan?" He said, "You shit players in a fantastic system."
That's amazing.
Superb.
Just going back to Pearson very quickly, lads. I knew I had it somewhere. A mate sent it to me. I've got his CV. I want to read you the hobbies and interests list and see if this sort of tallies with what you boys know.
What, an actual CV?
Yeah. Well, an actual CV? I thought you just Wikipedia'd him. You've got his CV.
No. Well, listen, I can read this bit to you, and you can tell me if this seems right. Hobbies and interests is the bit that I find particularly amazing. Live music, art,
yes,
oil painting, hiking, historical reading / research, and
research. That's not a hobby.
He's going to write a book himself.
That's just not a hobby. Research.
Public speaking and presentations.
That's not a hobby. That's a sideline.
I can see that, to be fair. Do you know what? He's one of those. He was a fascinating character. I've worked with a performance psychologist for a long, long time, and used to be fascinated by Nigel, just watching his body language and that. You know, he's a complex guy, and he's such an interesting guy, and he's this. Like, you see him, you don't want to mess with him, do you? He's a big geezer, you know, and he's got a really soft, gentle side to him that you probably don't see. And I think what's unfortunate for him is he adores and loves football, just pure football. It's all the circus around football that gets to him, you know, that he doesn't like, all the media talk, all that you know, as a manager, you have to do your press conference, you have to sit there and you have to listen to all these questions. I think he just wants to be a coach, just wants to be out on the pitch doing that, what he loves. And he's this complex guy. He's an unbelievable ballroom dancer. I've seen it in person. Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. No, seriously, where you think, where did that come from? That was incredible.
Where have you seen that? That's the weirdest situation of all, surely.
When we won the league.
What do you mean? So what? He took to the stage? What the fuck?
Yeah. Oh, he's been on stage. I've seen him on stage. He can do the splits. I've seen him do the splits.
He can do the splits.
He can do the splits.
But in what context?
I don't know now. This is when did we win? Probably 6 years ago. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. But in what context has he performed the splits for you?
Well, we'd won the league and he was happy. Everyone was dancing and he just did the splits. Like, whoa, where did that come from? That's incredible.
We're talking about Nigel Pearson.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify this because my brain can't process an image of Nigel Pearson in full evening dress doing the cha-cha-cha and then finishing with the splits.
Hold on. So when you saw him in full ballroom, was he with his missus, or was it? Yeah. So she can ballroom as well.
It's like everyone was dancing because we were celebrating, and obviously he's not going to be dancing like an R&B artist, is he? But you know, but it was. You could see that it wasn't his first rodeo.
I like these extra skills though, because I think it's interesting that he has that on the CV. It clearly backs it up. Brilliant dancer, can do the splits. Strangely flexible. Never thought Pearson would be flexible.
Day in the life of Pearson. So he goes out hiking in the morning, fends off wolves. He comes back. He does a little bit of research, and then he goes ballroom dancing.
That was like a good day, to be fair.
I like the fact, Chris, did you say that he'd had on his CV under hobbies, it had art, and then he had another heading for oil painting?
Yeah, let me get the CV
They're not
back
the same.
up. Yeah.
They're not the same.
He's so very defined interest. 1, live music. 2, art. 3, oil painting. Yeah, you're right. It was separate.
Separate to art. Does oil painting not come under the art umbrella?
That's what I was thinking, Crouchy. Yeah, I think he just, unless he's saying he appreciates someone else's art but enjoys himself rendering images, landscapes, people in oils.
But if you're a chairman, you don't care about this section of the CV, do you?
Why is it on there? It's not like it's not going to be like a chairman's umming and ahhing. Do we appoint Pearson?
Unless there's some real deviant shit on there.
We aren't as sure if this is real or not.
Hobbies and
real
interests.
doesn't matter on this podcast, Kasper.
I get that.
Crouchy's done the robot again because it's 100 Premier League goals for Peter Crouch.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
We've heard a few tales about Crouchy out in Copenhagen. A couple of good nights he's had there. I bet you've got some amazing stories.
I've had a few good nights out in Copenhagen. It's become a bit of a regular for the Leicester Christmas do with a bit of fancy dress.
Oh wow!
Well, the photo I was looking at was incredible. There was 4 turtles.
One was Ben Hamer, Danny Drinkwater, Andy King, and Matty James.
What did you go as?
I was Mr. Incredible.
Yeah,
I was Mr. Incredible on that one.
This is you and the lads out in Copenhagen. You're all in fancy dress. You've all committed to it. Everyone in this photo is committed to the fancy dress. So, did you say the context for this was it was a Christmas party, or was this to celebrate winning the league?
No, this was a Christmas party.
Right.
This was after we beat Swansea 3-0 away. We flew from Swansea to Copenhagen.
Okay, so many questions. At what point did the fancy dress start?
So we arrived, we obviously played on the Saturday. This was from Sunday morning, 10 a.m.
And then,
That's the only way to do it.
So obviously, with it being Copenhagen, I was helping to organise it all. And so I'm one of the first down, sat in the lobby, just making sure everything's kind of ready and sorted. And just when you see people coming down the stairs in their fancy dress costumes, but even better, people getting out of a lift with a Pac-Man.
Who the hell was Pac-Man? Like, what an inconvenient outfit.
Where's Morgan? It was brilliant for him because it was so big, so he could have it on. He could store his beer in the actual Pac-Man. He didn't have to carry it. It was genius.
Right.
Yeah.
So how does it continue?
Well, so basically the hotel wasn't too far from this bar, and this is probably the most busy square you're going to find in Copenhagen. Basically gathering followers as we're walking along. People think, what the fuck's going on here? So we stop in here, have a drink. Then we go on to the Tivoli Gardens. It's the world's oldest theme park, but it marks the centre of Copenhagen. And obviously, having not thought it through, everyone thought that we were part of the attractions. So kids are stopping us for pictures. So all the kids are wanting to have pictures with the Ninja Turtles. But there's a great one of Robert Huth who's dressed as Batman and who is the best Batman ever. It looks so much like him. We're sat at dinner and Huth is just sat there as if he's scouring, just looking for trouble that he's going to sort out. Oh, it's brilliant.
What I love about this so much is that every one of you has a Guinness. It's like you've all completely committed.
If we're going to do something, we're doing it properly. And obviously, being with a load of British lads, you go abroad, you have to find something British, don't you?
I can see some very natural Guinness drinkers in that team. So I can imagine Robert Huth smashing down a Guinness, no problem. I can see Wes Morgan with a Guinness.
Huth, he could drink, that's for sure. He's a joy.
Do you think like a lot of why you won the league was down to not the Christmas party, but the team spirit that you had?
Oh, 100%. I mean, the spirit that was built up in the club, and that started long before. That started in the Championship days with Nigel Pearson. You know, we work really, really hard when we train, and it's really serious when we play and when we train. But off the pitch, we can have a laugh, you know, and having that kind of camaraderie is great, you know, and having a lot of us have played together for a long time. We'd obviously come up through the Championship, had some ups, had some downs, things like that. And it helped us definitely that we were so good friends off the pitch as well. 100%.
Can I ask you something? When you lost to Watford in that playoff semi-final, do you think that game could have been the starting point for this journey to winning the Premier League?
There's no doubt that game was horrific and it was horrendous in so many ways. And to be honest with you, I've never actually seen it back. But basically what happened was when the goal went in, because they were renovating their stadium and all that, the tunnel was still down the far end where they scored the goal. And the pitch invasion happened. Half the team was stranded up the other end, while half of us had to run in the dressing room. And because it lasted for like over an hour, we were in the dressing room for so long and we didn't actually see really each other properly after the game because people had been caught out there and couldn't get back in the dressing room. So we didn't see each other properly until the start of pre-season next season.
Wow.
But from then, from the first day when we came in for pre-season testing, everyone was in ridiculous nick. People had been stewing on this all summer, and this had hurt. So we're gonna fucking hammer this league, and we did, to be fair.
You know, when you get in the Premier League, when do you start believing that you can do this?
Well, we believe. I mean, we definitely believed it after the Swansea game, Christmas, and it was one of we had momentum, and momentum is so difficult to stop. We didn't have a doubt, but everyone else did. You know, they're going to have to, mess up soon and all this kind of thing. But there was no pressure on us. No one expected us to do it, apart from us. The only pressure that was there was us. So we just basically just did our thing, and we had, I think, we won away at Tottenham 1-0, where Houthi scored, which was a massive, massive win. We lost away at Arsenal, which was a big result for us because we had this week off after that. And again, lads just came back raring to go. And that was always a worry because we'd lost to Arsenal at home and we'd lost to Liverpool away, I think, that season. So it was only our third loss of the season. And it was our last one as well, because after that, we just flew. I think Tottenham drew at home with West Brom towards the end of the season. That was a massive result for us at the time, which then set us up to go and basically just finish it off.
What was it like when you sealed it?
I was at home. I was here with my family, with my wife, my kids, and all the way through the running, I hadn't watched a single one of Tottenham games. I couldn't watch it. So I went with my wife, my kids, and my brother-in-law down to the village to go for dinner, try and block it out. Same thing, leave the phone at home. People down the village knew what was going on, that because Chelsea were playing at the time. So we could win it that night, and I'm sat in this restaurant and I was a mess. I was an absolute mess. And my wife found it hilarious. She was sat there with her phone taking videos of me, and the waiter were coming over and the game's going on. Like, shut up, man! Don't want to know. Don't want to know, man. And it was horrible. So in the end, we ended up going home, and probably about half an hour or something like that left. And I remember I said to my wife, right, I'm going to take the kids, put them to bed, and I'm not going to watch it. So I went in, putting them to bed. My wife comes in to say goodnight to them, and she goes, she's got this look on her face. I'm thinking, something. She's like, yeah, it's all though. Tottenham are 2-0 up. I'm like, So I was like, right, I might as well watch it. So went in the lounge, and Gary Cahill scored. I was like, right, now calm down. Just, like Del Boy, nice and calm, Trig. Just play it cool.
Play it cool, Trig.
So I was trying to play it all cool, and Hazard scored his goal. And just the last few minutes, honestly, it was hell, torture. And they had a free kick that Willian was going to take. He passed it into the corner, and the relief when he did that was unbelievable. And then they blew the whistle, and it was just relief, pride, joy, pure ecstasy, whatever you want to call it. I can't even describe what it was. So we celebrated a little bit with my family here. I wanted to be with them because they'd been with me the whole journey. A lot of the lads were at, obviously, Vardy's house. When we were kind of done with our celebrations at home, I drove to Jamie's house, and then we got on it from there. And obviously for Leicester, it was incredible. So we wanted to see what was going on in the town, So we drove into town, and probably 4 or 5 days later, Vards puts a picture in our group of a few cars in his driveway. Say, anyone know whose cars these are? No one had been back to claim them.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
Right, lads. So I heard that you had Mike Dean on, and obviously the one and only Dre on the podcast not long ago. Why so many refs?
It's a good point. I've been asking myself the same question. Nothing against you, Kasper, because you've been on fire on this podcast, but goalkeepers as well. Different species for me, really.
Why?
Well, number one, you train in a different part of the training ground. You must train earlier.
Yeah, we train earlier. We're serious athletes,
But see, this is what I always think. Goalkeepers always say this. They're always lifting heavier weights. They always go out earlier. But why?
Well, basically because we're in a position of ultimate responsibility. Any mistake and we're fucked. That's our livelihood. Millimeters matter. So we have to have time to work out details. That's why we do spend a lot of time like that. But certain managers, if you go out at the same time as the outfielders, you could be out for an hour, and then you look over and you see all the outfielders go in. And like, is that us for today then? Or 3-4 minutes into your warm-up, right, we need you for shooting, and then all of a sudden you're in a shooting practice. So like with Brendan, obviously the way he plays, I've always trained a lot with the outfielders, and because I feel it's so necessary, because you like 85%, 90% of the game is with your feet now as a keeper. So I've always felt it really important to be able to do it, but also for the outfielders to trust me to give me the ball. They know they can give me the ball in any which way, and I can deal with it in the same way as an outfielder would, And also, really important for me is to realize what they're going through. So how they should be receiving the ball, how I should be giving them the ball. But in terms of games, we'll get the ball sometimes and we'll launch a quick counter-attack when all you lot are knackered. Because you might have done loads of defending and running up and down and all that, but we haven't. So we get the ball. We're ready to go.
I love this. It's very much them and us, isn't it?
This goes back to exactly what I was saying. It's a different breed. You train. I'm tucking into my poached egg. When I look at it, usually playing 2-touch or something like that.
Imagine if outfielders took it as seriously as keepers. You'd be unbelievable.
Wow,
that's true.
When do you practice your free kicks?
Do you know what? We probably do more finishing than any group. Like a lot of the time, we've always said the strikers should train with us, because obviously doing exercises, we have to finish. We have to shoot at each other.
If you're that good at finishing, how far down the football pyramid would you have to go until you could play up front?
I could play up front in the Premier League. Easy. Up front's the easiest position.
Don't actually believe that, do you, Kasper?
Like outfield, you can get the ball, you can make 3-4 mistakes and no one notices.
Crouchy.
With a goalkeeper, you don't do a lot in the 90 minutes. You don't have to be fit. You piss around with your mates in training for hours so everyone thinks you're working hard. And then you go into a game and all you got to do is come for a couple of crosses. And then, a shot that's like close to your body, you flick it over the bar and do a roll, and everyone gives you a massive ooh. It's a huge, it's all showmanship.
I see.
Oh, that was ominous.
I could go into a lot of detail here, because obviously strikers, they piss about up front ages, don't run the channels. Like you kick it up to them, right? They're like, give it to my chest, get it to the chest. Centre half takes it off, and you're like, any chance here? And then they miss 3 or 4 chances,
lads,
and they're absolutely terrible all game. Score a goal, hero.
But Kasper, you were right in what you said before. We do have a bit of an obsession with referees on this podcast. Favourite referee?
I used to love Mark Clattenburg, because no bullshit in a way, and he'd tell you, if you were being a dick, he'd tell you fuck off, basically.
Really?
And it was his last ever game as well, Leicester West Brom, and I was captain with Johnny Evans, the opposing captain. So we've gone in, shook his hand, he's gone, right, usual bollocks, blah blah blah. Anything else you need to know? No, right? Should we do this thing? Yep, right, let's go.
Amazing.
And it was just like, brilliant, this is awesome.
Wow.
And got out on the pitch, and Danny Drinkwater should have had a red card within 10 minutes. And then one of their players went in on one of our players really hard. I've run up to him like, hey, Mark, what the fucking any chance? What's going on here? That's a straight red. He's like, oh, fuck off, mate. Give me a break. Like,
I think all players prefer someone that you can speak to.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's talk about Sven, because Crouchy, you've given us some delightful insight into Sven and his assistant tall grip when he was with England. But Kasper, he's played a big part in your career, because he gave you your debut at City.
A week or so before the first game of the season, we were playing West Ham away. We're doing like a warm-up exercise, and like the warm-up was like everyone getting 2s or everyone getting 3s or whatever. Joe Hart ran over, he's jumped on me, and he's caught his little finger on my shirt, and he's dislocated his little finger.
Oh.
Yeah, horrible. It was horrible. We got down to West Ham. We were staying in Canary Wharf, and I didn't have a clue if I was playing or not. And the goalie coach knocked on my door in the evening, and he said, "Right, well, you're playing tomorrow." Like, right. Playing it cool. Yeah, no, of course, yeah, no, brilliant. As soon as he left, just stood there, you're like, yes, get you.
Who's the first person you call? What do you do?
The first person I called was my dad to tell him, and he was like, yeah, I know. Sven told me. I was like, Sven had told my dad.
No. And your dad hadn't told you?
Because my dad was living in Denmark, so my mum and dad were flying in for the game. They didn't want to put any extra pressure on me that they were going to be there. Wow. So like they didn't tell me. But yeah, that was how like my debut came about with Sven. But he was the first manager who ever called me world class to my face. In terms of speed, you are world class. I've never seen anyone as quick as you. Those words, for someone to tell you that at 20, thinking, gee, like Sven-Göran Eriksson, the players and goalkeepers he's managed, like thinking, geez, that's put me on top of the world. Like, and
Kasper, I'll be honest with you, it's exactly how he made me feel for England. When I first walked in, I was thinking, oh my, I shouldn't be here. And then he made me feel that I did belong. And then I went on to play as much as I did. It was a mad thing, but he gave me that confidence to do that. Do you like him?
Yeah, I loved him. He's one of them, because obviously being Scandinavian, I kind of got his vibe. At City, we came from Kevin Keegan and Stuart Pearce, very like old school English, quite authoritarian, quite hard, rules, strict, and all this kind of thing. Where Sven, his first ever meetings is, hello guys, I have no rules. Just, use your brains, be clever. Don't do silly things.
When we were playing for England, he gave us a talk, and he said, look, I'm going to invite families. I think we were staying in the Lowry Hotel. He said, I'm going to give you the night off. If you'd like to bring your wives and families into the hotel, we can all have dinner. Any of the single lads, I need to speak to you after. So we all went in a room with him. And I was single at the time, early on in my England career. And I went and we had this chat, and it was like Wright Phillips and Defoe, myself, a couple of like young lads. So we had a chat, and he said, don't do anything I wouldn't do. And we went, fucking great.
That Peter Crouch podcast from BBC 5 Live.
This is the part of the show where we try to flog another podcast to you. And today, it's a question of sport. It's like the TV show, but on radio. And in the latest episode, Tuffers and Matt Dawson are joined by Jeanette Crouchy and Chris's favourite goalkeeper, Ben Foster. Download it now from BBC Sounds.
Have a day off, Tom.
Out of interest, Kasper, very quickly, who is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League, apart from yourself?
BBC Sounds. Music, radio, podcasts.